All right, welcome to Columbus State University and your driving tour in the era of the coronavirus. So I'm going to just give you a kind of brief overview of what the campus looks like. I'll point out some of the main buildings. I'll try to go slow here and explain what each one of these buildings actually is, what they house, what they would mean to you if you come on and become one of our colleagues. So over here you'll notice is the University Hall. This is where we have a lot of our big meetings as far as the campus-wide meetings go. Straight ahead is the Schuster Student Success Center. That's where Eric's office is with the study abroad with the Center for Global Engagement. That's also where a lot of the student services are located, our counseling center. The Center for Online Learning is in there, and a number of other student services. Over here, this kind of modern glass brick looking building is our CCT building, our Commerce and Technology building. I teach a lot of my survey classes in there. They've got some bigger lecture halls, so that tends to be a space that I like to work. It's pretty new. It's pretty nice. This is where a lot of the faculty tend to park if they teach on this side of campus. It's nice to see that while the campus is on lockdown, they're still doing their campus beautification projects, so that's good. Over this way is one of the big student dorm complexes. I don't know the exact number of how many rooms we have. It's something like 450. That number's sticking out to me for some reason. A lot of students tend to live on campus. We have dorms on the main campus as well as the Uptown campus. When we come around this side of the CCT building, you'll see the Davidson Student Center is located right there. They've got some really cool spaces for students that have pool tables, places where our esports crew tends to hang out in there as well. There's also classrooms as well. You'll see our iconic clock tower over this way. This kind of green space here in the center of campus is an important one for CSU. This is where we have Winterfest and a lot of the university, like when they do club days, they'll have students out on the green with their tables set up, selling their merch, their goods, raising money for their particular clubs, their particular groups. Down this way, you can't really see it through the trees. There is the library. We also have our Lenore Hall, is this glass building over here. This is where a lot of the physical sciences are located. And then we come down this bridge. Under this bridge here, a lot of cool student artwork featuring our connection to Fort Benning and the Army. This is another look at the library. Our archives are on the basement floor here. We come around this way. Over here is Stanley Hall. Stanley Hall is the big kind of lecture space. That's where a lot of the big chem classes, the communication classes that are taught on main campus are taught at. Their lecture halls that seat about 60 to 90 some odd people, maybe closer to 110 or so. Lots of ample parking. One of the things I asked when I first came for my on-campus interview almost 2 years ago was, how difficult is it for faculty to find parking? And the answer is it's not difficult at all. There's always faculty parking. Parking here at CSU is something you have to pay for. It's about $7 a month, I think is what it is. Not too expensive, and parking is really, it's not too bad here. So this is Ilgis Hall over here on the right-hand side. We're kind of coming around to the other part of campus here. This is where a lot of our janitorial staff, our maintenance, have their offices, and their facilities are over here. When we come over this way, so we'll pull in this parking lot and kind of make a roundabout. This is Richards Hall. This is where all the administrative offices are located, the president's office, the kind of business office, the HR is located in here. So, if we had been bringing you on campus, we would have been bringing you to HR to get a sense of what exactly what we offer as a university. There's the guy that's in charge of the budget. Yeah, so we got a couple other buildings over this way. These buildings are mostly teaching spaces, smaller spaces, general. This is another look at that green space I was talking about earlier. You can't quite see the clock tower through all the trees, but this is the green space where we do a lot of those events. But yeah, so the graduate school is located here. Ilgis is located, Howard, and Arnold Hall as well. These are places where you could teach if you taught on main campus. Given that you would be teaching mostly GIS courses, I think it's Lenore Hall, where the hard sciences were before, that you would probably be situated in. But in the past, at least Brad Huff, the person you're replacing, has been teaching in Dillingham, which is on the downtown campus, which I will take you on a tour of separately in a separate video. So if we come over this way, then we're entering into the kind of sports complex of CSU. CSU does not have a football team, which I take to be a very good thing. That's me. But we do have pretty well-known tennis and baseball. So you'll notice we've got tennis courts over here, all right? Our tennis team draws students from around the world. They are actually very, very good. That's the tennis court. And then over here, and we'll probably get a better view of it in a second when I take us around this other way, is the baseball field, right? Again, we have a pretty good baseball team too. So coming up this way, you'll get two views. One is of our athletic center, where there's a gym, there's a pool, there's basketball courts, there's all kinds of cool stuff in here, and faculty can get reduced rate entry to the sports complex. Over here is the student center, the other side of the student center, where I was talking about the pool tables being located earlier. Notice all the really cool artwork. One of our I think it's the Fort Scholar, came in from Latin America a couple of years ago and painted this really interesting mural. You notice like the cougar motif on it as well. Really cool. Just kind of a testament of how hip and trendy CSU can be. You'll get a better sense of this when we go to the downtown campus. But anyways, yeah, so here's another side of, you can kind of see there's a palm tree. I don't think I ever noticed that. Maybe you can't see that. A palm tree in the sports complex. There's our parking deck for students over here. I've never parked in there because, like I said earlier, there's a ton of faculty parking for sure. Over here is the Lumpkin Center. The Lumpkin Center is the big kind of basketball court area. It's the space that we do graduation. It's kind of a mixed space for a lot of different kinds of activities, but it's where we tend to meet at the beginning of each semester and the end of each semester, get a state of the university speech from the president. Here's a cougar statue, which I never noticed before today. So that's fun. And then, like I said before, here's the other side of the baseball field. That big building you see off in the distance, I forget the name of it, but it's a big conference center. So when we have conferences on CSU's campus, they will be in that space there. It's really nice. We did our orientation when we first came on as new faculty in that particular building over there. So yeah, see, the main campus is a very traditional campus. We call it the main campus, and then there's the downtown campus, which I'm going to take you to here shortly. It's not set up in any particular kind of way. It's kind of a big round circle with a couple of roads and parking lots that jut in and out. It's a really nice campus, and it feels very lively, especially when we're not, supposed to be teaching remotely. I would take you into the library, but the library's undergoing a pretty sizable renovation now, as well as we're moving kind of the advising into the library. The archives got moved around. I would take you in to see a regular classroom, but it's not that much different than I imagine you've been used to seeing. It's got LCD projectors and whiteboards. I don't know of any rooms on campus anymore that have blackboards. So we're kind of just heading then off of the main campus here. Here's one. So we went in kind of the north-ish entrance, I suppose, and now we're heading in more towards the, I guess this would be the west entrance. The west entrance, then kind of this road straight ahead is actually 185. As I'm driving us around this way, I'll talk just generally about the makeup of the city. You can hop on Google Maps and get a general sense of the way the city itself is organized. But 185 kind of runs in between the city, north and south. Columbus has, I think, 6 exits as a part of its interstate kind of system, right? Over here is the police, right, and the Turner Center. So excuse me. Yeah, so then there are 2 kind of main non-interstate roads that are really important. There's 3, I suppose. There's the north and south road is Veterans Parkway. It kind of connects North Columbus, where a lot of the white flight was, where a lot of the box stores are, past the Midtown area, which is where we're kind of heading into now, and then south into the major part of the city, and then it heads all the way down to the convention center, which I'll show you here in just a little bit. East-west, there's 2 big roads, right? There's Manchester Parkway, which cuts by the mall, and then the north side of the campus. I guess we weren't on the north. We came in on the east side, and then we left out of the west side of the campus. So this is the Midtown kind of off-campus area. This is Mohino Woods. I think it was established in the 70s. It's a neighborhood that a lot of our faculty tend to live in and then commute via bicycle to campus. It's a pretty common thing. Manchester Parkway kind of cuts over between the mall and then further west over to where the Columbus Technical College is located. There's the Shrine Club, the Shriners Club over there. The other big road, which brings us into the downtown area, is Macon Road. It's cuts all the way into the heart of the city and then out to the suburb areas where a lot of people tend to live as well too. If you did decide to buy a home in the Midtown area or rent a home perhaps, and you are thinking about having children in the future, we've got excuse me, buddy. There is an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school all around these parts. Clubview is this school that's up here on the left. Richards, I think that's right, is the middle school over here, and then Hardaway is about a block over in this direction over here, right? And so there are a lot of good schools around Columbus, a lot of bad schools around Columbus as well. As you're doing your research, I'm sure you'll pick up on a lot of the kind of racialized poverty, I would say, in the city, especially on the more south side. And I've only been here 2 years, and so some people would probably give you a little bit better breakdown of that history. But it does seem to me, at least, that the city is kind of self-segregated. That, I think, is changing quite a bit here of late, but you can still very much feel the remnants of that white flight. So what we're doing now then is we are heading through Midtown still. This is kind of a little bit more spread out part of Midtown. This is probably the little more affluent part of Midtown as well. We're coming up here on Hilton Avenue. When I first came 2 years ago, there were signs all over the place that said Save Hilton, and Save Hilton was this kind of campaign to save the neighborhood around Hilton Avenue, right? Here's a country club, gives you a sense of just how affluent this neighborhood is. A lot of big homes are on Hilton Avenue, the road we just crossed over, right? But anyways, a lot of people who work between the campuses end up taking this route. This is why I'm leaving the camera on and talking through it. Between the main campus and the downtown campus is about a 10-minute drive, maybe 15 minutes, depending on traffic. This is the route that our campus shuttle takes as it goes between main campus and the downtown campus. Columbus likes to call it Uptown Columbus. They think it sounds classier, and most people will call it Downtown Columbus and then pause for a second and go, well, it's actually called Uptown, and you know, it's neither here nor there. It was just a little cultural idiosyncratic thing about Columbus. A lot of stuff is starting to bloom lately. Those are pretty. Anyway, so we are kind of working our way around the country club over here. You'll see that, right across the street are kind of nice houses in the Lake Bottom area. A lot of faculty like to live in the Lake Bottom area. There are some older apartment complexes in this part of town. It's a little bit more expensive to live in this part of town as opposed to the newer apartments that are in North Columbus. That's something that, when you come down, when you decide to take this job, we can talk about more explicitly is, options for living. The housing market is up a little bit, but still it's a pretty good place, low cost of living for people to buy homes. My wife and I weren't able to purchase a home in New York before we came to Columbus, but we were able to buy a home here in Columbus, which I'm so thankful for. The renting market I know a little bit less about. This is Lake Bottom Park. I'm sorry that this isn't as clean cut as I'd want it to be, but that's a driving tour of the city, I suppose. So there's you see tennis courts, there's a track and field court, you see there all kinds of people get out and walk around the park at all times of day. There's a basketball court, there are baseball fields, they're just places you can bring your dog. Here's Columbus High School. I think this year ranked 3rd in the state of Georgia. Columbus High School, it's a magnet program. It's very difficult to get into. You have to test to get into this school. One of the complicated issues of the city is its educational infrastructure and the ways in which it kind of propagates that self-segregation, right? Columbus High School is founded in 1892, as that sign says. It's here in the heart of Midtown. But as I was saying before, a lot of faculty members like to live in this Lake Bottom area for its access to the park, because it's situated between Main and the Uptown campus. It makes it a really convenient place to live. I lived just up this way. Dr. Amanda Reese is actually my neighbor across the street. We're down maybe about half a mile in that direction. And it only takes me about 5 minutes to make it to main campus and maybe about 7 minutes to make it to the Uptown campus where our offices are located. So anyways, a lot of faculty members like to live down here for the myriad benefits. And you can rent a house or part of a house down here for I think, I'm trying to remember, Dr. Sarah Bowman, one of our historians, rents a place down here, and I think she said that their rent is about $800 a month. And I think she's in a house where it's either split into 2 or 3 apartments. Right, so there are lots of opportunities for this kind of thing. If you like that vibe, then you can easily find a house to rent in the more historic parts of town. A lot of these houses were built in the 1940s, the kind of post-World War II era. Or you can go to, a newer luxury apartment and you're looking at prices that are about probably $1,100 or so a month. If that seems a little high, the most common explanation I've heard for why there are higher priced apartments in Columbus has to do a lot with Fort Benning being located so close to the city, so there's actually pretty high demand for apartment spaces, and the apartment companies then, right, they respond to that demand by increasing the prices. But the places are nice. I've been to a lot of colleagues' homes that live in the apartments around the area. So now we're entering into the kind of trendy Midtown area. This is another reason why a lot of faculty members like to live in Midtown. There's a Piggly Wiggly and a I think there's a beverage shop around here somewhere. There's Jarfly, which is where we would take you for a lunch, were you to come to campus for a visit. Midtown Coffee is probably one of the trendier coffee places in the city. There's Mr. B's, that's an alcohol place. There's Bloomers, which is a place that sells flowers and stuff. And I can't show you all of it, I suppose, but there's more around here that people enjoy doing. There's places to do CrossFit. See if we can zoom in. There's some local artwork. Midtown has its own kind of identity in Columbus before we cross the bridge up here, cross the train tracks, and enter the Uptown part of the city. If you head that way, that'll bring you over to Macon Road. We're heading this way. We will cross over Veterans Parkway before we do the downtown strip. If at any point as you're watching this video, or the videos that we send along, if you have any questions about the things that you're seeing, please feel free to just ask, because one of the great things about on-campus interviews is we get a better chance to learn about you, but you also get to envision whether or not you can see yourself living in a city like this. And that was one of the things that struck me the hardest about Columbus. I'm from Georgia originally. I'd heard of Columbus. I knew that it was a sizable town, but I didn't know anything else about it. When I came for my on-campus interview, I was struck by just how much there is here in Columbus, how much culture there is, how much diversity there is, how many different things there are to do, how much more affordable the cost of living is here. Especially, I came from upstate New York, and the cost of living up there was just so insane. So we're heading into the Uptown part of campus, Uptown downtown part. There's Broadway Street, which we're going to go down, is probably the highlight of the city for most people. It's also where the vast majority of our university buildings are located. But then there's a lot of factory work around it. There's a lot that kind of hugs the railroad that comes through the city. There's a lot of office buildings. Some pretty notable companies that are based in Columbus are Aflac. Everybody knows Aflac. We've got two big skyscrapers in the city. The one that you see over there is the government building, and then back the other way down Macon Road is where the Aflac headquarters is located. And that's very important for the city of Columbus. Aflac is. It's one of the bigger employers. It's one of the companies that really brings an international element to Columbus for business purposes, right? But you can kind of see that we're entering into the downtown area now. This road that we're about to cross is that Veterans Parkway that runs north to south, that connects, again, those big box stores to the downtown area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take us onto Broadway so that you can see some of the businesses and the kind of feel of this artsy part of town. And then we will pause the video, and I'm going to try to take us into the Community Geography Center as well as our office space. In the event that I can't bring you in there, maybe we'll try to shoot those videos later and send them along when we can. Again, we're kind of in this limbo stage of the university is on spring break. Faculty aren't necessarily supposed to be on campus, but we really wanted you to have a feel for the town, for the city, how our space itself is situated in this really cool part of the city itself. So anyways, yeah, so there are a bunch of big companies that are based in Columbus. There's Aflac is the biggest one. You can see the big SunTrust building here, but the bank that Columbus is most known for is Synovus, a bank I had never heard of before I came to Columbus, but it was founded here. It grew out of the mill banks that were established to handle the mill workers' money when Columbus was a big mill town. I'm going to give you a sense of some of those old mills, which are now being retrofitted into apartment complexes. You can kind of see the stacks over there still. There's a lot of riverfront property over here because the downtown space is right along the Chattahoochee River. Okay, so this is the end of Broadway Street. At the end of Broadway Street is our TSYS kind of campus. TSYS is a big tech company. They do a lot of things like PayPal does, right? At least as far as I understand. There's some restaurants and things down this way. There's a big apartment complex where a lot of people live that work at TSYS. They're building this really fancy boutique place with a sky bar right alongside the river. You can't really see it too well, but that entryway right there is a bridge. It's a pedestrian bridge that crosses the Chattahoochee. That's really cool. There are barbecue wars in Columbus that are probably worth mentioning. I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not the person to tell you about them, but Country's Barbecue is a big one, and this is one of the more interesting country barbecue locations. It's an old kind of Greyhound station right alongside the river. So anyways, yeah, we're gonna cut our way down through Broadway. There you can see the mill stacks again, right? Eagle and Phoenix Mill is the big kind of a fancy schmancy apartment complex. They have apartments in there. They range in price from, I think the cheapest one they have is about $1,100, and then they've got some that are like $2,800. They're really fancy spaces, mostly for people I think that are working either in Synovus, SunTrust, AFLAC, or TSIS. Not so much CSU faculty, but yeah, they've also got the Rapids is this building right here. I'll try to take us up over the river here before maybe we go onto campus really quick so you can see just how close we are to the river. Yeah, so there's a Vietnamese restaurant right there on the corner that we've gone to once since I came on as faculty. Over here on the right hand side is Nanak, a really cool hip trendy bar place. Our quality enhancement plan, which is basically like a center for teaching and learning, right? It's associated with our Center for Teaching and Learning, which we call the Faculty Center here at CSU. We tend to meet up and grab drinks and celebrate the end of semesters and projects we've been working on. Really cool spaces. That's Nanak right there. A lot of cool, there's this pop-up place over here where they have restaurants and whatnot. There's a Kilwin's chocolate place, simple Greek, probably self-explanatory, is simply Greek food, but really good Greek food. There's the Phoenix Mills apartments now again. We're coming down this way. The Synovus building is that white one right there. You'll notice that there's a lot of really cool sculptural work in the downtown part of Columbus too. My sense is that a lot of this was installed as CSU started establishing its footprint in the downtown campus. This stretch, in the early aughts was pretty run down, and then CSU was gifted a large plot of property down here, and by taking on that property, bringing faculty and students down, they really brought the city back from the brink. This is Frank Brown Hall. This is probably our newest building. It's where education and health sciences are located, but you could teach in there if you wanted to. Yeah, again, more Synovus properties over here. Then we've got some restaurants on this side. There's a Subway. There's a donuts shop that just opened. I haven't had a chance to go to the donut shop just yet, but lots of street parking, 2-hour parking slots. There's a Mama Goldberg's. It's like a sandwich place. Iron Bank Coffee is right there, that white building. A really cool space. A lot of faculty like to hang out. It's an old bank, as you would imagine. It's a place where you can rent bicycles. There's another Smokes Barbecue. It's a kind of upscale barbecue place. Cannon Brew Pub. Little Scruffy's Bar over here. There's a Mexican cantina. Sorry, I'm having to kind of book through a lot of these spaces because I've got people behind me, but pizza places, some student housing. There's an old bookstore over there. There's a Japanese cuisine sushi bar. There's our CSU bookstore. There's a Barbaritos, which is a kind of a Moe's type place. Fountain City Coffee is Amanda Reese's favorite coffee shop in the city. There's a lot of identity politics that I think play into which coffee shop you like to frequent in the city. Midtown Coffee, which we've driven past, Iron Bank, and Fountain City are the big ones. So this building over here is our one of our big performing art spaces. One of the things Columbus is probably best known for is the theater, music and the theater. This one is our River Center. They do a lot of opera, a lot of really cool shows come through Columbus, and we get to go to them as faculty all the time. This little building on the corner is the CSU radio. There's a Hula Hands, there's a Marriott, and our offices are just around this corner, a block down that way. Lots of cool art in the city. I want to take us around one more curve, and then I'll take us down to the river so that we can get a shot of the Springer Opera House. The Opera House of the state of Georgia is actually located here in Columbus. Really cool space. This part down this way is historic Columbus. Maybe I'll actually drive us down this way first, and then we'll come back around and we'll go to the river, and then we'll come and see some of the spaces. This is Dillingham right here. This is actually the building that the Community Geography Center is in. That's one of the buildings I'm going to try to break us into, and then down a block down that way is where our offices are located. But anyway, so we're in the historic district now. You can maybe catch a sense of the rumbling brick roads that make up this downtown, this part of town. A lot of these spaces now are doctors' offices or lawyers' offices or the private homes of fairly well-off individuals. Our department chair, who is now retired, actually lives in the old Pemberton house. Pemberton's the guy that invented Coca-Cola, right? That's one of the things that Columbus is famous for. Bernie 2020. Sorry, anyways. Yeah, so he actually lives down this way, but you'll see like this is a law office right here. Really cool, like early 2000s, early 20th century, maybe late 19th century homes, right? Heritage Park is over here. It's right in front of the Coca-Cola Space Science Center, which is right next to the Convention Center, which is right next to our office space. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna head down this way. That down there is the Pemberton house. It's not much to look at. It's a one-bedroom house that they added an extension onto, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So here's Heritage Park. Cool slave hut, testaments to the city's history. Our Coca-Cola Space Science Center is over here. This is a CSU affiliated building. You see it says Columbus State University on it, maybe, right? There's a planetarium in there. The Earth and Space Science people do some stuff in there. They also do these really cool planetarium shows where they'll put on kind of laser light shows every once in a while. Yeah, so let's see, I'm just trying to think of what's the best move here. Yeah, Convention and Trade Center is here. Our building is this red brick building right there. We're kind of just going around in a circle now because I really want to show you the Springer Opera House. That bridge, that railroad tracks lead over the river, which I want to take you to as well. Again, here's the Dillingham building, which is where the Community Geography Center is, right in the shadow of, our government building, our Capitol building right there. And then again, this is the River Center that we're coming around to, the radio station. One of the interesting things about being downtown and where our offices are located is you'll see this right here in the middle of the road is our railroad tracks. And at periodic times throughout the day, you'll actually hear train whistles, and trains will come down this part of the street and across the bridge or from the bridge back into Columbus, right? And you'll be in class and you'll hear the sound of the train whistle, and then everybody knows that, okay, for the next minute or so, you're gonna have to either speak more, louder, or you're gonna have to pause and watch the train go by. I think it's actually a pretty calming experience, although some people aren't too fond of that distraction, I suppose. Anyways, in the summer they like to the statue fills up with water, and you'll see kids kind of splashing around on it. Every Saturday we do market Saturdays, and vendors will set up shop all up and down Broadway Street, selling soaps and artwork and all kinds of cool stuff. It's a really good chance to get out if you have a dog to walk your dog. My daughter loves coming out and seeing and having this chance to be outdoors. Here is the Springer Opera House. Look it up online. It's a really cool space. Jimmy Carter, who is Columbus, kind of lays claim to his heritage because we are a fairly democratic part of the American South. Jimmy Carter gave a speech up there. This is again the Georgia Opera House, right? So it's a pretty important place. We are going to round our way around here with the idea that I'm going to take you across the river really quick, and then I'll pause the video and I'll try to break us into our buildings, and so you can see what those look like too. All right, again, this is 9th Street. This is where the railroad tracks are, and we're just kind of downtown Columbus is set up pretty much on a grid for the most part. It's pretty easy to navigate with numbered streets and until you get over to Veterans, at least, which is very much different than the rest of the city, which is not gridded, right? But pretty easy to navigate. Columbusites, I think, they like to make jokes about if you're not from Columbus, you find it very difficult to navigate Columbus. But I picked it up really quick, especially if you know that Manchester and Veterans and Macon Road are kind of the thoroughfares that get you around the city, but also get you to 185, right? Columbus is about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. We're about 45, maybe closer to an hour away from Noonan, which is outside of Atlanta on 85 if you're heading south. Lots of restaurants and shopping places up that way if that's something you're interested in. You come further down, there's LaGrange. There's not much to do in LaGrange, but then there's Pine Mountain, which has some good hiking. There's also this really cool place where you can what's the name of that place? The Lion something. I'm drawing a blank. The Safari something. It's this really cool space where you can get in these vans, and then there's buffalo and deer and all kinds of animals that you can feed, like these little peanuts too. Here's the Corn Center for the Visual Arts, the Bo Bartlett Center. Our art department is located right here. This is our building. We share it with the theater department, the art department. The dance classes are mostly in these spaces right here. There's this really cool green space right along the river. Some biking paths as well. They like to do food trucks. You see this guy out here throwing baseball back and forth. There's a playground down there with a splash pad if kids like to splash around. They like to do, let's see, I'm not even gonna be able to get down here and see the river, am I? They like to do, you know what? Screw it. I want you to see the river, so I'm gonna do something I probably shouldn't do. Woo! Now the radio's going on. Yeah, so this is, the river is down this way. See the river? There's a river walk that's about a 6-mile stretch. This guy is making eyes at me. You can also see there's a zip line. You can see that tower over there on the Alabama side cuts across the river. You can actually go whitewater rafting on the river. There's all visit the Visit Columbus website and you'll get a good sense of what the kind of ecotourism of downtown it looks like. Ooh, I better get out. Okay. Notice the sacrifices and the danger I'm putting myself through to give you guys a good view of the city. All right. Yeah. So now we're on the Alabama side. This is Phoenix City. Columbus and Phoenix City, they very much exist they coexist with each other. That being said, the kind of wealth very much seems to be on the Columbus side of things. Phoenix City is where I would say some of the more poor parts of the city tend to live, but that's not necessarily true. Now we're getting a shot of the other side of Columbus from the Alabama side. So that's the thing I really want to emphasize, right? There's another Columbus State Performing Arts space right there along the river. Here's the river, right? And then right there are our offices in history and geography. I'm actually going to go ahead and try to bust into our department, I think, first, and then I'll take you over to the Community Geography Center. But we're just crossing the river here, and there's our office. It's one of my favorite things. We're up on the 3rd floor there, is to be able to look out over the river from our office space. You know, if you've had a particularly trying day or whatnot, it's one of my favorite things to do. There's also, right here is the entrance to the river walk, that 6-mile space where you can walk, and on nice days it's just really great to bring your lunch to work and then go walk along the trail for a little bit. And now you know I'm not wearing my seatbelt, which is bad. But anyways, so I'm going to take you in to see our offices. This is our parking spaces right here. All right. Lots of parking, never really a problem to park here again, as I said earlier. There's our that convention center, the trade center I was talking about earlier. I'm just gonna let the footage roll. It's almost like you can get a better sense of how walkable our downtown space is by doing this. But yeah, so cool. This is the Arsenal building. That's the name of it. It also goes by the Yancey Center. Don't ask me why we have two names for the same building, but we do. You can kind of call it whichever one you want. Again, we're up there on the 3rd floor, so we're gonna come down this way. There are stairs. I don't want you to have to listen to me heave as I move up the stairs, but really cool courtyard space. I brought classes down here before to have students kind of talk when it's nice. There's some covered spaces over there. Students like to congregate in these areas generally, I would say. Okay. Yeah, but anyways, we're gonna take the elevator up to the 3rd floor. The 2nd floor has theater and art. The 1st floor is more classroom spaces. We also share this building with some other companies and government offices, I guess. One of which is the city bankruptcy court. Their offices are right just down that way. Okay. So there's my history of vandalism, vandalized poster. Anyways, let's see if my card's gonna let me in. So we've got 2 suites of spaces, all right? 2 suites of spaces. Oh, somebody's here. Let's see who's here. Say hi, Patty.
Hi.
To our candidates. Hey, look, it's Amanda and Eric. I'm shooting our tour.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So, this is my office. Yeah, there's our I don't know. You've seen office spaces before, I imagine. Copiers and mailboxes, and a lot of the office have windows. I'm not exactly sure which office you would have, but I think you'd have a couple of choices that we would figure out in the event. Let's see. Patty's having her meeting over here.
Patty just sent the thing from Tara.
Was not expecting to see her here, but this is good. And then there's like a little kitchenette space in here that we sometimes, Dr. Huff likes to do puzzles. But again, we've got a kind of 2 suite space, and that there are classrooms down this way. Bathrooms are down this way, okay? 2 fairly sizable classrooms that we have first dibs on. Here's one of them. All right, this is where I'm actually teaching my senior seminar class at. You can see I've moved the tables around to fit that, but you'll see what I was talking about. There are the railroad tracks that you'll hear the train on occasion. Okay, good views of downtown. The other room looks a lot like that. Dr. Ryan Lynch's office is here. Dr. Dan Croswell is down there. Let's see. Where's the light switch in this room? Here's the other classroom, right? So it's a pretty generic classroom. It's got LCD projector, it's got a whiteboard. You can move the tables around. I know that Dr. Huff likes to teach his World Regional Geography class here. So that's something that you could consider. And I imagine that's what we've set up for the fall semester anyways. And yeah, you can come out and now see like we're on this side of the elevator bank. All right, I'm going to take you through this building then and over to the, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to take you over to the Community Geography Center. I'll see if I can think of some things to tell you while we're walking though. Yeah, we just passed the bankruptcy court. I love being in this building because it has this kind of rich feeling of history. It has all these really interesting views everywhere. It's right in the heart of downtown. It's exciting. It's vibrant. You know, this is one of the things that they told me when I came along is that when they first acquired these downtown properties, the History and Geography Department got to vote on whether they were going to move downtown. And a lot of people weren't too keen on it because they were teaching mostly on the main campus. They didn't like the idea of being split between the two, right? And so they kind of reluctantly moved down. It was a pretty split decision, right? But I think pretty much everybody in the department agrees now that the right decision was made. I think it also helps that we've got a lot of younger faculty now as well who really thrive on this. But I don't know if that's really a generalization that holds up. Anyways, we're gonna cross the street. We've got the Columbus Visitor Center here. Lots of materials on tourism in the city. That's the big push of late, is to try to think about ways to think about the city and for tourist purposes. You get a sense from the sign that's right here on the corner. This space down here is the Student Activity Center. Our history club meets there once a semester and plays games and whatnot. See, we're walking up the road with the railroad tracks again. Kind of hope the train comes by while we're out. It's really cool to see. I like it. I think it's a really interesting characteristic of the city. Anyways, little kind of outdoory space, parking lot. That parking deck is owned by the city, but especially on really hot days or really rainy days, I'll use that pretty regularly. Just to keep the car from baking too much or to keep it dry and keep me dry in the process. Anyways, okay. We're rounding around here to the Dillingham entrance. Now, the two classrooms in this space that are most important for your purposes are the Community Geography Center. That's Amanda's home, really. And then right next to the Community Geography Center is the lab where most of the GIS classes are actually taught. So, and it's open. Had you been coming, your class demonstration would have been in this lab in here, actually. Okay, so Dr. Reese, Amanda gave me her key. Let's see if I can get into this room. Hey, any chance you can open this lab for me?
Which one? This one right here?
This one here. I've got the key for the Community Geography Center. I want you guys to get a chance to see what the lab looks like that you would actually be teaching in. So we're going to see if this guy can open it up for us. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm taking a video for our candidates that would be coming. Yeah, so this is the lab. Pretty straightforward, 2 projectors, lots of MacBooks, or not MacBooks, but yes. Apple computers, which for GIS is problematic, but you can toggle between Apple and Microsoft products here. And they've been making it work just fine, but that is an issue that our incoming GIS specialist would probably want to think about.
One thing they might want to know, if they are more friendly with, say, a Windows environment.
Yeah.
In this lab in here, we have both MacBooks and Windows PCs as
See,
well.
I didn't even know that. Yep. So we've got all kinds of solutions down here that you should be able to make use with. Cool. Thank you very much. So I'm going to show you the the Community Geography Center. A good idea to kind of think about community geography more. Yeah, I've got the key for it. Thank you, sir. Is community geography really is Dr. Reese's specialty here, and that's the vision that we're pushing for geography in a number of ways. It's not to say that you have to be a community geographer to have this job, but it's definitely something that's worth thinking about. So, anyways, to bring in that idea of geography, here we go. There's 2 nice windows looking out on the railway again. This room's a little bit longer. 2 big pieces of technology I was told to point out to you in addition to the laptops and the computers is the plotter, right? HP DesignJet T1300. Really great for printing up these gigantic posters for working through your cartographic projects. And then we also have a pretty high-tech scanner in this room. Printer, not sure actually, the scanner's right here. Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind this is, but very useful, right? Lots of whiteboard space in the room, lots of places to hang up projects. This is really Dr. Reese's home. So again, this is right next to the lab where a lot of the GIS classes are being taught. And the plan is for the foreseeable future to have this kind of be the home of geography. Okay? So that will conclude our broadcast. Hopefully it was informative. And as I said before, if you have any questions about the city, where we fit into it, what we have or don't have, do not hesitate to let us know. All right?